If you're over 40 years old and you want to get into great shape, but you think you're too old to do it, let me tell you, you're not. I'm going to show you the 3 things you need to do to get into the best shape of your life after the age of 40. Coming up next. Hey everyone, this is Coach John Hansen, Natural Mr. Olympia, 3-time Natural Mr. Universe. On this video, I'm going to talk about the 3 things you need to do to get into great shape after the age of 40. It's no secret that as we get older, our bodies naturally change. Our hormone levels are different. We can put on body fat easier. It's harder to recuperate. Strength levels and muscle mass can decline, but it is not too late to get into great shape. Even if you haven't worked out for years and you let yourself go and you gain too much body fat, you haven't been to the gym in a long time, you can still make amazing progress and get into fantastic shape even after the age of 40. When I made the cover of Ironman magazine, I was 48 years old. Now, granted, I've been training my whole life, but still, this is a perfect example of what you can do past the age of 40. So in today's video, I want to talk about the 3 different factors you need to concentrate on in order to completely change the way you look. So the first one, of course, is exercise, specifically weight training. Weight training is absolutely essential to building and maintaining muscle tissue as we get older. If you've never worked out with weights before, or it's been decades since you've been to the gym, this is the first step to changing the way your body looks. Even if your main goal is weight loss, building muscle tissue is going to be the first step you need to take in order to change your metabolism and really change the way your body looks. As you go through the process of changing your body, you're going to be losing body fat, but it's also very important to add muscle tissue while you're doing that. In order for this to happen, you have to follow a structured weightlifting plan. Now, if you've never worked out before, or if it's been decades since you touched a weight, you can start off with doing a basic weight training program of doing 1 exercise for each major muscle group in your body. You can do these 10 or 12 exercises 3 days a week, and this will allow you to get started on the journey of building more muscle tissue and increasing your strength. If you've been weight training for a long time, then you're already 1 step ahead of the game. But let me give you some tips that are very relevant as you reach middle age. The first is that you have to allow for recuperation. When we're young, our bodies seem to recuperate very quickly. Your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments recover very quickly from a workout. However, as we get older, this recovery ability goes down. So it's really important that you don't overtrain when you design a weight training program for yourself. When I was a teenager, I was training 6 days a week, twice a day. But as I got older, I found that I needed more days of rest in order to allow not only the muscles, but also the tendons and the joints to recover. I would recommend a weight training program that consists of 4 or maybe 5 days of weight training total. I think it's good to have 2 full rest days off from the weights in order to allow your body to recuperate. The next tip I want to offer is to use the most effective exercises. If you belong to a well-equipped gym, you're going to have a lot of variety of machines and exercises to use. Some of these exercises are going to be better than others. I'm a big believer in using the basic exercises. These are compound movements that will use several muscle groups in order to perform the exercise. If you're trying to stimulate muscle and build strength, it makes sense to use the exercises that are going to work the best to accomplish that goal. A lot of the machines and cable exercises that are available at the gym may not be the best ones to do to stimulate muscle. So when you're designing your exercise routine, make sure to select the most effective exercises you can to get the most bang out of your buck. Tip number 3 is make sure you train heavy enough. One of the common misconceptions I hear about training as we get older is that we have to train with very light weights to avoid injury. Although it's very important to train within your limitations, you still have to push the muscles in order to stimulate them to grow. I like a phrase that 3-time Mr. Olympia Frank Zane used to say, always be in control of the weight, don't let the weight control you. If you're using a weight where you can't do the exercise correctly and in good form, and it feels like you're out of control, then that weight is probably too heavy. But heavy is a relative term. What might be heavy for one person might be really light for another. So you have to pick the proper resistance that will allow you to do anywhere from 8 to 12 repetitions per set. But because we have to fight to build that muscle tissue, it's important that you use weights that are going to challenge that muscle and coax it to grow. Then the fourth tip I want to offer is to make your workouts progressive. If you're using the same weight, the same reps, and the same amount of sets week after week, your body's going to get to a rut and it's not going to respond anymore. You have to make the workouts progressive from week to week in order to stimulate muscle growth. So that can mean you might have to use a little bit more weight than you used last time. You might have to do another repetition with the same weight that you used last time, or maybe add one more set to that exercise than you did before. Just remember to push yourself when you're doing your weight training program. Muscle is a very valuable commodity on your body. And in order to grow that valuable muscle tissue, you really have to push it. It's not going to happen easy. All right, let's talk about the second factor, which is nutrition. Just trying to eat healthy or watching the type of foods you eat isn't enough when it comes to building muscle and losing fat. Not only do you have to eat the right amount of calories, but you also have to become very familiar with your macronutrients. The three macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and fat. Eating these macronutrients in the proper proportions day after day is essential to growing muscle tissue while you're losing body fat. So protein is very important because protein is the only macronutrient that actually rebuilds muscle tissue. The reason for this is that protein is comprised of individual amino acids. When you eat a protein food, it is broken down into these amino acids. The amino acids are then used to help rebuild muscle tissue that you tore down during your workouts. Not getting enough protein in your diet will definitely hold you back when it comes to building muscle and strength. Foods like eggs, chicken, turkey, beef, and fish are excellent choices of protein to help rebuild muscle tissue. And it's important to recognize that some protein foods are higher in fat than others. I like to combine low-fat sources of protein like egg whites, chicken, and extra lean ground turkey with some higher fat sources of protein like steak, whole eggs, and salmon. So I'm getting enough protein, but I'm not going over the amount of fat that I need to help me lose fat and gain muscle. Carbohydrates are the second macronutrient I want to talk about. Some people believe you can't lose body fat or get ripped by eating carbohydrates, but this is definitely a false belief. When it comes to carbohydrates, it's important to recognize the difference between complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates. Complex carbohydrates are digested much slower and they contain more fiber, which also slows down the digestive process. These carbs are going to be more likely to be stored in the muscle cells themselves as glycogen. Glycogen is stored carbohydrates. This is the energy you're going to use when you do a weight training workout. Using carbohydrates in your diet the correct way will help you to not only have more energy, but also aid in recuperation from your weight training workouts. And again, remember, focus more on complex carbohydrates than simple carbs. Simple carbs like sugar or fruit juices are digested very quickly and they tend to raise the blood sugar levels very high. And those calories are more likely to be absorbed as fat. So too much sugar will make you fat. And the last macronutrient is fat. Now, as long as you're eating enough protein, the carbohydrates and fat in your diet will serve as energy sources. If you choose to eat a low carbohydrate diet, you're going to have to increase your fat intake in order to have enough energy to get through your workouts. If you're eating more carbohydrates in your diet, then your fat intake needs to be lowered. Otherwise, the excess calories will prevent you from getting leaner. An important point to remember is that 1 gram of fats contains 9 calories, where 1 gram of protein or 1 gram of carbohydrates only contains 4 calories. So fats are twice as dense in calories as either protein or carbohydrates. I know intermittent fasting is very popular now, but I find that the best way to keep my metabolism going faster and also to get in the right amount of protein, carbs, and fats that I'm eating every day is to eat multiple meals per day. Eating a meal every 3 hours for a total of 5 or 6 meals per day allows me to eat the right amount of protein, carbs, and fat so I can build muscle and lose body fat at the same time. And the last factor I want to mention is the good old cardiovascular exercise. Not too many people like doing cardio, but cardio exercise can help to lose body fat when you have the right diet and weight training program already in place. When I start an exercise and diet program to lose body fat, I like to introduce cardio very slowly. If you haven't done cardio in a while, only doing 3 days a week of 20 to 30 minutes each session may be enough to aid the diet in losing more body fat. I believe the best time to do cardio is first thing in the morning before you've eaten a meal. When the body is in a fasted state, it can't rely on any easy to digest carbohydrates in your system for energy. As a result, it has to tap into stored body fat for energy to do the exercise. And just as your muscles will get accustomed to using a certain amount of weight, your cardiovascular system will also adapt to the amount of cardio that you're doing. So in the beginning, if 30 minutes of cardio is really tough, eventually it's going to be really easy. And this is when you can increase the amount of time you do the cardio, or you can add more cardio sessions per week. But again, do this slowly. Use as little cardio as you need along with the diet to help you lose body fat, but still maintain and build muscle tissue. When I see people doing an hour of cardio every day just to lose fat, I know their diet must be off, because there's no way you should need to do that much cardio to get leaner. And overdoing the cardio can eventually interfere with your muscle gains as well. So it's important to do the right type of cardio at the right time and don't overdo it. When I got into great shape for my Ironman photo shoot, I was weight training about 4 days a week. I was doing cardio 4 days a week. I was eating a diet that consisted of about 200 grams of protein, 250 grams of carbohydrates, and 50 grams of fat. I dieted about 12 weeks to get in shape for the photo shoot, and I got my body weight down to about 190 pounds with a body fat percentage of about 7%. And I also want to mention that I did this completely through nutrition and working out. I was not using any anabolic steroids, and I was not on any TRT program. And at 190 pounds, I wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but I still was able to achieve that ripped, muscular look that was good enough for the cover of Ironman magazine. So believe me when I tell you that being over the age of 40 will not prevent you from getting into unbelievable shape. I work with clients from around the world who are over 40, 50, even 60 years old. And it's amazing the miraculous changes some of these guys have made. Once you follow the correct weight training, nutrition, and cardiovascular program, anybody can get in shape no matter where you're starting from. If I can do it, so can you. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more future videos just like this. If you got any questions for me, you can hit me up on Instagram at John Hansen1 or use my email address at naturalolympia@gmail.com. Now, let me hear from you guys over 40 in the comments below on some of the miraculous changes you've made to your physique and how you were able to do it. This is Coach John Hansen. Keep training hard, think big, and I'll see you next time. Take care.